Hey everyone, welcome back to Farming Simulator 22 and Butschern. We are back pretty much where we left off last time, going to harvest this field of wheat. One thing I did while you were away and was move this cultivator over to the opposite corner there of the wheat field. It just seemed like a better option for setting up with our header and stuff, so I just went ahead and did that. I didn't think you'd mind too much me driving, missing the excitement of driving around to the other side of the field. Whoa, 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 whoa. But let's get this combine turned around. You know, every time I see a yellow van like that, I think of a company I worked for when I was like early 20s, called Service Master. And they were a primarily carpet and upholstery cleaning company. But we also did fire and flood restoration work, and by restoration I mean cleaning, not repairing or anything like that. Just your basic restoration, cleaning stuff. But there were a few jobs I did that um, let's just say if I if I was asked to do them today, I would not do them. Um, some pretty nasty cleanup jobs that we'll just say involved the human body um, more than anything, and it was disgusting. And I didn't make, they didn't pay well enough for it, and I wouldn't do it again today. But anyways, on to better things. Let's lower this down because it doesn't look quite right sticking up in the air. Yeah, don't hit me. Do not hit me. Thank you. Oh, I just thought of something. Straw swath, straw swath, straw swath. I think I don't have it turned on. And, oh, it was turned on. Interesting. Yeah, because we're going to want to bail. We are going to want to bail. Alright. Oh, man, I'm so not good driving this thing on the inside. I was thinking what we could do is do 2 or 3 headlands here, round trips, get this thing a good start, give some room for the hired help. Yes, the hired help. And hire up some local college students, I guess, who want to do some field work and seem to know what they're doing, and we'll let them finish up this field for us, and I think we'll be more in charge of emptying the combine, trying to keep it rolling and running as best we can. And I figure, yeah, once we get our first trailer load and get this thing taken care of, we can feed our chickens, make them happy. Rumor has it chickens require food, so I feel like we probably should make an effort to feed the chickens. I wasn't really planning on having chickens, to be quite honest. And in fact, since the last recording, I was kind of the opinion to just say, forget it, let's just sell the chickens. But they're there, they're already there. They're low maintenance. In fact, the chickens probably are the lowest maintenance animals you can get. I've actually done all the animals except for cows. I have not done cows. Horses were pretty easy. I didn't find them to be particularly fun or worthwhile doing. That's just me though. Um, they weren't really financially great either. I mean, I made some money on them for sure. I certainly spent more than I needed to because I grabbed the, I think it's called the Horseman mod or something like that. And basically what it does is it cleans and rides your horses every night at midnight. They all get cleaned. They all have 100%. They've all been 100% ridden, and you don't have to touch them. And that was what I did. But it costs you money. It actually costs quite a bit of money to have that done. But there was no way I was going to take the time to. I think it was were there 15 horses, I think, and there was just no way I was going to take the time to go ahead. Don't. Oh, that's the perfect spot to stop. There was just no way I was going to take the time to write each one and all that nonsense. So that's just not for me. It might be for some, but it wasn't for me. Otherwise, they were nice to have around, you know. Occasionally I would ride one just to kind of check my fields and crops and stuff, but that kind of lost its, you know, shine after a while too. And so I really don't think I'm that interested in doing horses particularly anytime soon. Pigs were easy. They weren't as easy as horses and sheep because you actually, I would say, in fact, I would kind of say pigs are similar to cows, but you don't have to necessarily, maybe a little easier than cows as far as feeding goes, but similar. You still have to mix pig food. If you don't want to, I guess, if you don't want to manually mix it, you can, that's one thing about pigs is you can individually add the types of food. Oh man, I keep turning. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I keep turning this thing off. You don't have to mix. You don't have to mix pig food to feed it to them. You can feed them the individual ingredients, which is kind of nice. Unlike cows, you actually have to make an effort to, you know, blend their food and stuff. But I'm kind of excited about having cows on this map. I think it'll be a lot of fun. My goal would be to fill our barn that we have right now with dairy cows, to get that filled with all dairy cows, and then I believe I'm not sure on this map if there is a beef cattle area. I think there might be a beef cattle or another cow barn set up on this farm or on this map. We'll have to look. If not, I'd be okay with putting down just an open range cow facility and to raise beef cattle. That's kind of my goal, is to kind of to focus more on cows as far as animals go. I don't think I'm gonna bother with pigs at all. Sheep, maybe so. Sheep are super easy. Sheep, if I remember correctly, are basically hay? I think you feed them hay, and do they take straw? I forget if they even take straw or not. I think they do, right? Not entirely sure. But cows and sheep, I would say, are the two that I would be mostly. Cows and sheep, I would say. Yeah. All right, let's get this strip done. Actually, this is going pretty quick. But I'm thinking, let's get this strip done. And get another headland done down there, and make this a little bit easier for our hired helpers. AI and Farm Sim can be tricky. I don't have the rage quit fury that I've seen some people have over the hired helpers. My philosophy is you need to set them up for success. If you're going to use hired helpers, then it's up to you to make it so that they work right. Because I've seen people just, go up to a field, launch a hired helper, and then expect perfection, and that's not going to happen unless it is a perfectly, square or rectangular field with zero obstructions around. Yes, then you would be fine. But otherwise, you have to set them up for success. That's my philosophy. And if you do that, I've had good luck with the hired help. One thing to do for sure is, you give them plenty of headland space so they can turn around freely. And they take more headland space than you would imagine, but that's what you have to do. Another thing I've noticed with hired help is, like, let's say on a field like this, like that curvature right there, if we really wanted to guarantee good success, we would just straighten this field out and basically make it rectangular. Oh, we are full. Look at that. We are full. I'll be darned. I will be darned. Well, let's get up out of the way here because I don't want to drive all over our crop. And let's pipe out. And this is, and by the way, this is an example of what I was talking about with crop destruction. Like, I turn off crop destruction, but I also play like it was on, I guess would maybe be the best way to put it. So I don't cut, I don't cut across my field and all that stuff just because I feel like that's a little bit, little unfair, to have crop destruction turned off and also just trounce on your field all over the place. That's just me, and that's what's great about this game is you play it the way you want to play it. You play the game the way you see fit, and that's why I don't get into the whole cheat mods and that's cheaty if you do this, and you should play this way, and there's a lot of there's YouTubers I watch occasionally that I think they're console players, and they do something called fast farming, and basically I think the way it works is you put a weight between the tractor and the implement, like a seeder, and that tricks the game into allowing you to basically seed your farm or seed your field at basically full speed, as fast as the tractor will go. See, I don't get into that. I don't like that. I think it looks kind of weird and it just doesn't work for me. But you know what? If they want to play that way, 100% go for it. It's not, it's not for me to say how the game is played by others. The other thing I see a lot too, that isn't really my cup of tea, is auto loading. Now, I shouldn't say that. I mean, I've used auto loaders probably more than some, less than some and more than some. I just I don't know. It's that's one thing I struggle with, because how do bales, do the old, magic hop onto a trailer, and pallets magic hop onto a trailer or a truck. I'll be the first to tell you though that that's probably, besides logging, loading bales and pallets is, for me at least, one of the most frustrating points of the game, and I think mostly because I'm not good at it, and I haven't practiced, and I haven't made an effort to get good at it. I think if you do practice, I think like anything else, you can get better at it. I've seen these competitions, you know, the Farming Simulator League, where they have these bale stacking and stuff competitions, and I'll tell you, it's impressive to see it. I don't care who you are, whether you like the game or not. If you've had any experience with stacking bales in this game, you'd know how quite impressive it is to watch people who are good at it do it. I'm not. That is no question about. I am not. I guess you know, at the end of the day, if I look at my gameplay in general, ultra realism, no, not ultra realistic. But I do try to play the game so that I get the feel, you know, of what a farmer, or as close to the feel of how an actual farm works, or how a farmer actually would do things. I do make that effort, generally speaking. It just seems that's my game style, you know. I don't get into the free money mods, you know, the government subsidy mods, stuff like that. I think there's a place for those, and I think if that's something that you use, you know, more power to you. Again, just not something I'm into. Usually at least what I do when a new farm sim comes out. In fact, this is what I did when 22 came out. The first map I played was Elm Creek, and I played that map. I'm not even sure how many hours I put on that map, to be fair, but what I did was I played that map enough to where, you know, to a point where some other maps had come out, and I had made pretty good progress on it. And the money I made on that map, so basically at the end of when I was done playing it, I sold all my crops, I sold all my animals, I sold everything I could as far as product wise, and then I went and I sold all my fields that I had bought, except for the main farm. I didn't sell that. I just sold all the fields. And I think my equipment, yeah, I sold all my equipment too. I sold all my equipment. And to me, that was kind of the total value of what I had earned in that game, or what my farm, you know, more or less was worth by the time, at the end of playing Elm Creek. And that's the money that I took on to the next map. And I think it was a few million. I think it was 4 million. I think something roughly $4 million by the time I was done. I think it was like 4 mil that I had, and that's how I play, though. You know, I take that money, so I made 4 million. And the next map I played, I think it, now I forget offhand what it was. But anyways, the next map I played, I took that money over to the next map, and straight away, out of that 4 million, I paid for the farm that I was taking over, and I think the farm was probably, I don't know, half of it was another. It wasn't as small a map as this one, but I think total between just buying the farm, I think was like close to $1 million maybe. And then I sold all the equipment that was on it because I wanted to pick different equipment. By that time, a lot of mods, you know, had come out, and I wanted to try some different things other than base game equipment. And yeah, and that's how I worked it. I you know, I used the money I earned from Elm Creek to buy the farm, to buy the equipment I wanted. to do upgrades to the farm. I think I bought a couple of additional fields. I think I even purchased some animals. I think I put down a cow barn and things like that. And I played that map, you know, until I was kind of done with it and earned some more money and rinse and repeat. You know, sell the fields I owned, animals, crops, everything like that, and that's how I usually play. Now, in this map, I didn't bring over any money because this is my first YouTube gameplay map, and I didn't want to start this map with, you know, $3 or $4 million in the bank and all that stuff. I kind of wanted to just play this one from scratch. And that's what I'm doing here. So we're just starting with $100,000 in the bank. We have no debt at this point. We're using all the equipment that that we were given when we started, and we're just going to try. You know, we're going to try and make a go of it. And I think while we're here, I think it would be a good idea to just go ahead and empty our combine. So yeah, I know I mentioned I was going to let hired help do this field, but I don't know, I've kind of been enjoying just doing some harvesting and talking to myself, talking to you guys, or talking to myself. I'm okay with this. It's kind of fun. It's kind of nice to be able to sit back and just harvest. I haven't done a lot of that recently because I've been using hired helpers and course play, and yeah, I'm enjoying this. I am. So I'm always curious when I'm in a forum or in some way talking to other people who play the game. You know, I'm always curious, like, when did you start playing? You know, what got you into Farm Sim, and when did you first pick up the game and start playing it? And do you play on PC? Do you play console? That kind of thing. And I know for me, my first experience with Farm Sim was on a console. It was on the Xbox 360, so it would have been FS13 basically, and I could not get enough. I honestly could not get enough of the game. I think if it were possible, I would have quit my job and stayed home and played all day, all night. I know I'm comparing to FS15, and I know that on FS15 I had, I think, close to 1,700 hours. And I know I easily had more than that on the console at the time. I'm guessing I probably had a couple thousand hours on the 360, and that's on a console, and that's FS13. I mean, that's no mods. If you played back on that, if you played back on FS13, I don't know why I keep going in squares. We're just gonna do it this way. If you played back then, you know what I'm talking about, how different the game was. Much different than it is today, as far as graphics, as far as productions. We didn't have productions back then. Animals were extremely limited. Machinery was was extremely limited. It actually kind of amazes me that I got that much enjoyment and time out of playing the game back then as I did, just looking at how it is today, you know. And I remember, I think, I can't remember what got me past the console and into the PC. I think I think it was just because I built. I think it was when I built maybe. I don't think it was when I built my first PC. Um, I'm an IT. My career is IT, and I've always enjoyed messing around with PCs and Macs and things like that, servers and stuff, and networking and whatnot. And I'm thinking back, and I think maybe that was. I think I switched because I had heard how much better the game was, quote unquote, on a PC than it was on console. And I think most of that argument stemmed from mods. In fact, I think that was basically exactly what it were mods, and how amazing mods are. And I'll tell you, I think if I remember correctly, I ended up either building a beefier gaming PC or upgrading my PC, and FS15 was my first PC farm sim experience. And I remember, and I do distinctly remember thinking how, at least for me, how much better it was. Like, wow. Like, I would never go back to playing on console if I could help it. Just the availability of mods alone is crazy. And then, with PC, and I'm speaking more for back then, more than I am for now, but for PC, you could use, a gaming controller, so you weren't missing anything there. So if you wanted to use a gaming controller, you could. Wheel pedals, you could. Keyboard, mouse, you could. And these were things, so your options for even how you played the game were better than console. And when you stacked it all up together, it was just, for me, it was a no-brainer. PC gaming ruled. I see advantages still, though. I see some advantages to console gaming. I do. And I mean, being a PC tech and being in IT for as long as I have, the frustrations that computers bring, absolutely. I mean, you're dealing with an operating system. You're dealing with all the other stuff that is on that computer. Antivirus and all the updates and all this nonsense. And with a console, it's really just turn it on and go, and that's really, really nice. I bought an Xbox, what was it? What are they? Xbox X, Series X? Yeah. For my kids, and that thing is wonderful, and the graphics on it are amazing. The hardware is fantastic. And what's nice about the consoles that you won't see on a PC is the manufacturers like Microsoft and Sony and Nintendo, it behooves them for their games to play exceptionally well, right, on their consoles. I mean, if you've got a game that plays horribly on your console, it's your reputation that takes a hit. Sure, it's the software developer, that's also in that mix. But let's say I play Farm Sim on a Series X and you play Farm Sim on a PlayStation, and I come over to your house and your farming simulator runs smoother. It runs at a higher frame rate. My farm sim, crashes on me once in a while. It doesn't look as nice on mine. I mean, those are things that these console manufacturers are very well aware of. And so the advantage for console players is a lot of effort is put into making your gaming experience very solid. And that hardware is very predictable. Microsoft knows exactly what hardware games have to run on their Xboxes. On a PC, there are literally millions of hardware combinations out there. And, that's a lot more difficult to prepare for um, than it is on a console. And that's also where Macs have an advantage. And that's an argument, I like Macs. I'm a Mac fan, but for gaming, PC is still, king for gaming. But that's one big advantage Apple has with a Mac is they control the operating system, they control the hardware. And when you do that, that's a big advantage that you have over Microsoft and Windows. It really is. And I mean, you can argue 6 ways to the sun, I guess, about that, but that's kind of a fact you can't deny. It's the same. I mean, look at your phones. It's the same thing with the phone. I like iPhone because an iPhone's an iPhone. Android, Google with Android, they also have to deal with a wider variety of hardware. And some hardware runs Android exceptionally well, and some hardware doesn't. And then you've got people like companies like Samsung who pile, 100 tons of crap on top of the Android OS. Certainly not a fan of that. I run into having to deal with that stuff occasionally, and that's not for me. That's just not for me. I like simplicity, and I want it to work. And Macs break down like PCs, and if anybody tells you different, they're not being honest. Macs do break down just like PCs do, but the difference is, at least in my experience, and I've worked on both, repairs, the whole 9 yards, the Macs break down less, and they do tend to have less issues overall. But that whole, what was that slogan? Get a Mac, or go with Apple, or get a Mac because it just works. Well, that's unfortunately not always the case. So anyways, let's wrap this field up real quick. We are very close to the end of this episode, but I do think it's worth getting this field buttoned up, and then we will, I'm assuming we're probably move on to the next wheat field and kind of rinse and repeat. I think this was the bigger of the fields, the biggest of the fields we have for harvesting. But this has been fun. I'm glad. I'm kind of glad I didn't. I'm kind of glad I didn't hire out to get this done. I actually enjoyed kind of sitting here, jaw jacking, and I'll tell you, I just realized something, and I kind of have to chuckle about it. Probably my #1 mod. If I had to pick one mod, I mean literally pick one mod, that if I could only have one mod in the game, what would that be? And it would probably be the GPS mod. I have a very difficult time living without my GPS mod, and I just realized this whole time I have not used it. And indeed, this harvester doesn't have it installed. Huh. Interesting. That's it. That's it for our field. Let's let it just spit out what it has left. Let's empty our harvester. I haven't even really been paying attention to the yield on this field. I didn't even look to see what, actually let's turn this thing off. I didn't even really pay attention to what the yield was on this field, but it looks like we're going to be able to get this whole field wrapped up into this one trailer load. So let's do that. Oh, you don't want to fold it? There we go. Let's fold this guy up. Get him turned off. I don't think this guy is on. Nope, he's not. Excellent. All right. And I think that's where we'll leave it today. Field 10 has been taken care of. And I think next we will move on to field 6 and then 1. In fact, looking at our field sizes, 1 is actually a little bit bigger than 10. Okay, so all 3 of these are pretty close, though. Pretty darn close. Oh, needs plowing. Lovely. So straight away, we are going to have to get this thing plowed up. I do have plowing turned on, so yep, we are going to have to deal with plowing on this field. I like this combine. It's done well for us. Oh, before we go, this is something I always do after every harvest. I go into my mobile workshop here and I repair. And I repair. Because I'll tell you, you will lose yield if you don't keep your combines and I think it's the combine actually and not the header. But I just make sure both are kept up to snuff because if you don't, you do lose yield and that's not something we need. So anyways, you guys have a great evening. Thanks for tuning in again, and I appreciate you stopping by. Take care of yourselves. God bless, and I will see you next time here on Butschern.